A lot of students try to use more vocabularies, collocations, idioms, phrases, metaphors, but they cannot get a high score. There is one reason.
Hi everyone, and in today's podcast we've got a new version. It's the video podcast. In today's podcast we with Mr. Abbas Voronov are gonna talk about the IELTS. Overall the tips and strategies how to get into it.
Yeah.
In most cases this podcast is created for the people who are not that aware of the IELTS, who don't know how to start it, who don't know what IELTS in general is. And Mr. Abbas Voronov today is gonna give us the entire and full information about the IELTS. Hello Mr. Abbas Voronov, how are you? How's it going?
So hello and hi everyone. Everything is awesome as usual. So what about you?
Oh great, that's brilliant. My mood never changed.
Uh-huh.
Anything never changed. I'm always in a great mood.
So you know today is a quite stressful day.
Yeah.
Because today is the first day we are recording our podcast in a video version. So I don't know how I will talk because I'm feeling myself cool as a cucumber. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. My first question to you will be, as I mentioned, a lot of people just don't know what the IELTS is. They don't know how to start it.
For sure.
And the question here is, what can you suggest for people? What kind of sources they may use? Maybe what they can search in the Google for in order to start the to start the IELTS, because it's a bit difficult to understand where you should start from, what you should start from. There are 4 sections and it's really difficult.
Yeah.
So here is the answer.
As I mentioned to you before, in IELTS there are 4 parts. It's listening, reading, writing, and speaking. So, and now I would like to give you some information about for each session. So, in a listening, there are overall 40 questions, and there are 4 parts. In a part 1, you will be given a question about general topics like a booking or university enrolling or giving some addresses for the postal address. Part 2 it's kind of difficult for some students, and in a part 2 students will be given the questions about multiple choice, maybe map chart or maybe some gap fillings. Part 3, it's mostly the multiple choice questions will come here. And part 4, it's a gap filling session. So, and the brief information about the IELTS listening session. Overall 40 questions, and you will be given the time for each part, and you have to you will be given the time for analyzing all the tasks. And also, you will be given a 10 minutes for transferring your answer to the answer sheet after finishing the listening session. So, and overall suggestions to get high score from the IELTS listening part. And from experience, listening is quite easy rather than comparing other tasks. And students who want to take high score from the IELTS, they first should try to improve their comprehension skills. So by this I mean they have to listen more and more podcasts, because in the overall getting from the IELTS high score, students should understand all meanings of the speech. So, and by listening podcasts they can improve their comprehension skills. And the second one, in IELTS listening, you will be given the time for analyzing your questions, and you will be given the 30 from the 30 to the 1 minute. You will be given the time for analyzing your answers, and in this time they have to use their time efficiently to underline the keywords or to highlight what's the definitions of the word. I think it's suggested. And also, students should do practice more and more. And there is one problem with the students of the IELTS, especially in listening. They try to listen, or they try to do more and more listening passages, but it's not so helpful. So they have to analyze their mistakes. For example, why you are making mistake in this type of the question, or why you have a difficulty with multiple choice questions. So you have to identify your mistakes. Why you are making this kind of mistakes.
Right.
After doing so, you can improve your or you have to work on your weak points. And by this way, you can improve your overall listening score. And we have to turn to the reading. In reading, there are 3 passages. In the first passage, there will be certain question. In the passage 2, there will be questions from 13 and 14. And in a passage 3, there will be approximately 14 questions. And the ways of tackling the IELTS reading. So first, you have to analyze all your questions, whether they are hitting, matching, multiple choice, true, false, not given, it doesn't matter. So you have to identify the keywords and you have to highlight them. And also, for getting a better mark, as I mentioned, in a listening session, your comprehension skill should be improved. Because by comprehension, you can understand all the passage, and after understanding, you can find the correct answers. I'm saying that for improving your comprehension skills, you have to read more and more. You have to read articles, you have to read your favorite books in English, so the only way you have to read. And also, you have to use some methods like skimming and scanning. And I think this is the best way to find the correct answer. It's kind of structure to find the best answer. And also, you have to be more attentive to your passage questions.
Right.
And the speaking. In the speaking, there are 3 parts. In the part 1, you will be given the question about general topics, about yourself, about your hobbies, and about your daily life. So approximately it lasts for 4 or 5 minutes. And it's part 2. Part 2, it's a cue card, and you will be given the card. You have to talk about 2 minutes, and you will be given the 1 minute to talk about, to write notes about it. And after that, examiner will stop you, and you have to talk it about 1 or 2 minutes in between. Right. And part 3, it's a discussion part, and you will be given the questions related to the part 2. So, and ways to tackle the speaking part of the IELTS exam. So first, a lot of students ask from me, how can I improve my IELTS speaking skill? There is no any secrets, or there is no any magic books, or there is no any, how can I say, useful techniques. The first thing, you have to practice more and more, because practice makes perfect. And also, there is one problem with the students who want to improve their speech in an IELTS session, and they try to learn vocabulary. They take a dictionary and they try to learn all vocabularies from the letter A to the letter Z. I think this is a mistake for the students who want to take high score from the IELTS. They have to learn vocabularies in specific topics. They have to learn topic-related vocabularies. And also, how can I say? They have to practice in special topics like technology or agriculture or food, hobbies. There are some specific 100 topics which they have to practice before the exam.
Okay, I've got a question for you related to the IELTS speaking. As you said, the first part is from 4 to 5 minutes, the second part is about 1 to 2 minutes, and the third part is related to the second part and also has a special time limit. So, are there any strategies, for answering for each and every part? Because as you know, there are time limits, right? And that's why they have to maybe answer it in a long way. Maybe they have to answer it, how can I say, really shortly. What can you suggest for people? What kind of strategy? Or maybe you've got some methods to answer for each IELTS speaking.
So in a part 1, there is overall 5 or 6 questions about yourself, about your daily routines, and it's suggested to talk like a structure like this. For example, point, example, and support. For example, do you like reading? So here is the answer. Yep, without doubt, I'm keen on reading books. For example, every night when I'm sleeping, before my sleeping, I tend to have my nose on a book in order to improve my outlook. That's all. That's all for the part 1. To share your time for each section, then you have to keep a balance between them.
So you mean that if you spend a lot of time for the part 1, you will lose the time in the part 3, and that's why you will be given questions less. You will be given less questions for the part 3, and most probably just you will get the lower score, right? So here is the next question. You know, when I was personally preparing for the IELTS, I thought in the beginning that using a lot of academic words, a lot of conjunctions, maybe some phrases, collocations, idioms, just using a lot of them was a good idea. That's how I saw it. You know, what's your opinion about this in the speaking section?
So just be fluent. Just be fluent, because an examiner there are 4 criteria for the marking, and the first it's the lexical resource, and your pronunciation, your how can I say, task response, and your fluency. And saying that fluency is a best part, or fluency is a how can I say, it's the good way to get a higher score. A lot of students try to use more vocabularies, collocations, idioms, phrases, metaphors, but they cannot get a high score. There is one reason: they are not enough fluent. If they are fluent enough, they can take a high score, which they desire. So in IELTS speaking, just be fluent, just be relaxed, just talk like a native speaker. So if you pay close attention to the speakers of the IELTS speaking countries, or English language speaking countries, they do not try to add more vocabularies. They try to be more fluent and natural.
So guys, just stay subscribed to the channel. Click on that red button in the YouTube, because the following topic will be how to become fluent speaker in English. We, with Mr. Abbas Buranov, will give you all of the tips we learned from our life, from the overall English learning process, and also will provide you with extra, new, original, and very interesting methods how to become fluent and how to speak without any hesitations, and all of the tips about the speaking section. Just stay subscribed, how can I say, be with us, and you will see the topic. So let's get back to our topic. Here it is.
Quick advertisement.
And we talked about the speaking section. It was brilliant. So let's jump into the writing. Because in my estimation, the writing section of the IELTS is the most difficult. Because the criteria, to get the high bands are very difficult to achieve. Because in general, the worldwide, how can I say, average band score is 5.5 or maybe 6 in the writing. That's why I'm gonna ask you about it.
So I'm not expert in this field, because I have a higher score in listening and speaking, but I try to share my overall general information, knowledge. So first, in a writing session in IELTS, there are 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. In part 1, you will be given the question about the bar chart, pie chart, kind of processes, diagrams. You have to describe them, and you have to write down approximately 150 words in it. So in a time is 20 minutes. Part 2, it's a quite long session, and there is some discussion topics you have to write down about it, and the word limit is 250 vocabularies. And in a 14 minutes you have to write down them. And general information about how to improve your score in IELTS writing. The first thing, you have to be somehow, how can I say, you have to compare your writing essays with the sample ones. Because if you compare more and more, you know what kind of mistakes are you doing. So even though you don't have a teacher, you can improve your writing score. And also you have to pick some phrases, vocabs, idioms, collocations, metaphors from the reading passages, and you can use them in your writing session. Because if your listening is high, your speaking will be high also. If your writing is high, your reading will be also high, because the both of them are interlinked with each other. And also you have to, how can I say, write more and more essays before your exam, and you have to write down in official topics from the IELTS marked.
Alright, your overall explanation of the IELTS, it's more than enough, that was great. Guys, don't forget that following topic will be about how to become a fluent speaker in English. Just stay subscribed, but don't forget that we are gonna make this, and you will know the strategies, and you will know the methods how to get this. Thank you, Mr. Abbas Voronov. That was great, and I think that was Ant. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone who were being with us, and thank you for your attention. Thanks.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your comment.